Hello YouTube, welcome back to another video. I'm going to be talking about the upcoming elemental lockout period that's going to be coming up during the Shinryu era. RIP Faris, hashtag RIP Faris in the comments. I've been vaguely alluding to it, and other creators and players have been alluding to it as well. I'll be talking about it, kind of what happens, what you need to know, all that good stuff. Keeping it brief, you know, my usual style. Go ahead and like the video, comment, subscribe. I wanted to put some facts behind stuff and give more context, because I've been mentioning in I'm going to mention in my Faris video, which I haven't recorded yet, and some other videos, and it's an interesting topic. Let's get right into it without further ado. So what is it? It's a period of time during the game where the devs decided to slap on elemental restrictions to the 0% and upwards force gauge. Non-specified elemental brave damage is reduced. It starts off around 100, I think on the seller side, 90, whatever. But later it goes up to 999, so you really just can't power to it. You will do ones if you're not hitting the element that they want you to. It's about a 3-month period of fights, 18 fights total. I went through the data and counted them up, and I got a sheet to show you guys later with some data on it. And it overrides the current rule. So right now, imperils, if you imperil someone and they resist the weapon type, you can punch through it. But now this does no longer work. The condition on the Shinryu gauge is if your elements outside of X element will get reduced by Y%. So, for example, in the upcoming Faris fight, elements outside of wind, thunder, and water will be reduced by 100%, period. And this overrides the current rules. And multiple elements, so say let's say you're Sabin, for example, you're trying to hit Holy and Wind, because Holy is not in water, thunder, or wind, your overall damage will get reduced to 1. So it's kind of a hit, and it's an overriding of the current rules, which is pretty obnoxious. But let's continue. When does it happen? It starts with the Faris FR and raid. So Faris is going to get her FR, and they have these kind of lockouts there. I believe we already experienced it on the GL exclusive Terra fight, I think it worked like that too. That was a taste of it. And it ends with Beatrix's FR and IW, Thunder or non-elemental only. And then Rydia onwards, we're good to go. And so this is span of 18 fights total over 3 months. It's 9 fights out of 18 are going to have some restriction on them. So now, like as promised, here is the data. You can see here I've labeled the fights appropriately by the character getting the FR on the left. And on the right, we have red for if they're blocked, if the element is blocked, and green if the element is allowed. So you can see, I counted it up. You can see at the bottom, unblocked versus blocked. You can see who gets a W and who gets an L. It's not a good time to be an Earth or Fire user. September reference. Yeah, I'm not singing right now. But you can see it, and then I put an asterisk next to excuse me, he's not Dorgan, he's Bart's dad. I put an asterisk next to Bart's dad because that's when the 999% lockouts start hitting as well. So if you were powering through with increased brave damage, now they're really saying nah. Additionally, on top of this, you might be thinking, this doesn't look as bad. Well, it gets a little bit worse because once you mix some of the anti-type things into the mix, it gets a little worse for some units, specifically Faris. So Balthier's fight doesn't let you debuff. Vaughn's fight increases weapon type resistance unless you're hitting elements. I didn't get too specific in the weeds here. And again, if I made any mistakes, please correct me in the comments, and I'll have a pin comment with any corrections down below. Hope's fight, it counters melee and range past like 20% onwards in the force gauge. They stop you from your physical brave damage is reduced, and 50% on in the force gauge, you get straight up countered and probably murdered. I know Tifa can rush past this, but that's an outlier. In the Reigns fight, no melee range. Yuna's fight has a melee counter, and Jack's fight is anti-magic on top of, they have phases of no brave gain and anti-range damage. And then it's important to note that Seymour and Renoa are Transcendence fights, so you can't use the same units in there anyways. So while you could theoretically use Faris there, you can only use her in one of them. So that ends up theoretically with Faris being probably okay in the Aranea fight, one of the Transcendences, and maybe the Unifight. Faris gets cooked here. It's brutal, and you could do the math for any remaining units, but these are just things to be aware of. So overall winners, and this, I probably should have had an asterisk on this slide for winners, because you're not really a winner because you're just winning what? You're not getting screwed in 12 out of 18 instead of 9 out of 18. Non-elemental though is definitely a W. Non-elemental only gets screwed in 2 fights, being the Vaughn fight and the Dorgan fight. The Vaughn fight, you can just enchant them and they're fine. And in the Dorgan fight, again, you can enchant them and they're fine. So yeah, it's like whatever. Non-elemental, the strongest units in the game are not really stopped by this, which is ridiculous in my opinion. I don't know what they were smoking. Brave gainers, again, Tifa, Rinoa, Vaughn. Vaughn does have elements, but because he can gain so hard between his hits, he actually doesn't care about brave damage. So whoop-de-doo. Ice is favored a little bit more. Celes, there's a couple, the Celes fight, the Kurasame fight, the Aerith fight, in which Kurasame is featured on banner, is cool for Ice as well. And the Dorgan fight, because that is, again, in Celes' a cycle, so she's cool there. Reno, Thunder, we got what? Probably would have helped to pull this back up, but Enacro and the Beatrix fight alongside the Faris fight as well. And Holy, Minwu onwards. And the thing is, it feels less bad on characters that are later during the lockouts. I should probably go back. It feels less bad on the characters that are later because they're not going to be locked out for long. So while Dorgan does get hit a little bit for like, what, a month or so after he comes out, after that, it's like free reign. And Lunafreya has an asterisk next to her as well, because you can use Lunafreya 1 to gaze charge, but 2, if you just let her EX buff fall out, that's her ice enchant. So then you can use her fine without ever pressing that. And Lunafreya doesn't really need to do damage to be effective anyway, so she's fine. Again, the strongest units are continuously fine. The losers though, woo! Faris. I mean, I just laid that out specifically, but realistically, Faris is only maybe viable in 3 fights. You can, now I'll go into that later, you can push past it with brave gains and fix brave damage, but Faris has Faris has to work a little bit harder than everyone else. People who have pure brave damage, plus elements, so Lulu and Golbez, they can't gain through anything without help. They're a little bit sad, but yeah, like Faris, Sabin, Garnet, they have multiple elements, and if one of them is stuck, or if one of them is stopped, they're completely stopped in the brave damage department. So yikes, especially Garnet, because she's a party enchanter. That really hurts everyone. Fire, Braska. Fire's got no W's, Earth's got no W's, just because there's no featured fire or Earth units. On top of that, Dark only gets a slight W on the Enacro Lost Chapter, because Enacro does dark damage, say it. And so Seiss and Leon take a W there as well. And lastly, Water, again, Rydia, Garnet, Faris. Rydia's guaranteed weakness just straight up doesn't work on these conditions, which is, it's cool that they stopped doing that when Rydia got in that far, because man, that would have been really tragic for her. I skipped her because I was scared that was going to happen, but thankfully it wasn't the case. Moving on. So how do you get around it? Charlotta's BT effect and the Kate Sith effect, where you brave gain when you do brave damage. Brave gain on hit, better said, as I put in the slide. If you get enough brave when you do hits, then your brave damage doesn't really matter. Then you're good, unless you need to brave shave the enemy, obviously. But that's an option for pushing through things. You're doing damage regardless. So if you're Charlotta, Giga Chad, shout out to you, because you're going to be punching through anything, really, that you want. Setzer, nice typo, idiot. Party capped brave damage. Setzer can use his fixed dice and then have everyone cap on their brave damage regardless, so it's fine. Jagron, he is a selfish cap brave damage, so if you wanted to be specific and you want to drive an elemental FR, Jagron could do it. That's a giant plus to him. And if all else fails, just use someone else. Get over it. It sucks, I agree. It's 9. The span over 3 months is annoying, and having it being so like every other fight is pretty obnoxious, but we'll get over it. It will end. That being said, in conclusion, units do remain viable after this period. I immediately after the lockouts ended and Garnet got her FR Echo. I used Faris on that fight FR and I won pretty easily. Faris still held up. A lot of these units still hold up after this period. So don't let this dissuade you from pulling someone you really want. Like if you're on the fence and you're broke and you want to save something down the line, like obviously power creep's going to happen. But if you're really interested in someone, there are tools to either get them through, or if you want to just wait it out and use them after this period, they'll be fine there. Charlotta Havers are in fact Giga Chads, because nothing can stop you, except for the Jack fight. Actually, the Jack fight stops brave gains during that period, so that's actually pretty rough. But I mean, whatever. The anti-Alfie. It's a great argument for Rinoa. Let me go back. So Magic gets stopped, quote unquote, twice, and that's really only on the Jack fight. Otherwise, the Vaughn fight, if you enchant Renoa, you're good. Otherwise, Renoa doesn't get hampered by anything at all. Like physical damage gets hampered a little bit, although Tifa can brute force through things too. Really, it's a great Renoa sell. It's kind of crazy. They're making up for her being garbage for years. And the devs are goofy. They made really strong units that are non-elemental, and then they stopped the units that aren't as great but can be pretty fun to play. So yeah, shout out to the devs. Y'all are some goofballs. And RIP Faris is really not a good look for her, but again, she can be fine after this period, but during it's going to feel pretty awful to try and use her. But you know, Charlotta, Kate Sith sets her through it if you really feel so inclined. And that's it. So let me know what you guys think. Any corrections, welcome. As always, I like to keep it transparent with you guys. This is fun to collect data on and put some numbers to it. Don't let it... Now, if someone brings up elements as an excuse after this, then they're a goofball, because it's not really a thing anymore. Like, they just stopped doing it, all right? But during the 3-month period, I think it's a valid criticism, kind of, but it should be emphasized again that the units will be viable after the fact. Like, I just used Celes on the recent core Lost Chapter fight. These units don't stop being good if you're good enough at the game, but just something to think about. The information's out there. Let me know what you guys think again. Like, subscribe, watch all my other content. Stay tuned for more. Have a great day. Hope y'all in the gym, because I'm back, baby. And stay safe out there. Peace, y'all.